That's the name of the new EP by King Krule. And that's kind of what I'm saying to myself. I'm like outside here because I'm recording in the morning. It's like, I don't know, 6:47 a.m. out here in Rochester, New York. And I have to be quiet, so I don't want to be inside making a bunch of noise. And I'm also kind of saying shh to all these, I got a lot of tufted titmice and cardinals all around me, so there's going to be some nice ambient sound. But it's on purpose. I'm happy. I'm a little bit frustrated because yesterday I recorded this video. I recorded it inside with my dog Toby, who's afraid of the thunder. So I was his thunder buddy. He was on my lap the entire time, but all you could hear from the audio was so I can't release that. It doesn't matter how cute Toby was, I can't release that. But I like it. I like it because it was this weird technological reminder, and it was encouraging me to do this now, to re-listen to the EP one more time this morning while I was getting my coffee and walking the dogs. And it gives me more time to be in this world. And that's what I love about this DLC EP movement. If you don't know, that's what I call these little tiny deluxe editions, these little EPs that come out right after an album. Downloadable content just like in a video game. But just like a video game, it serves this really important function. And the last video I did was on the DLC that Underscores released for their excellent album Wall Socket. It's that we live in a time where the cycle is so quick. Something amazing comes out, and you love it and you appreciate it, but there's always something around the corner. Not to, in my day, but in my day, you used to buy a CD for, anywhere between $12 to $20 if it was new, $8 to $12 if it was used, and you'd listen to it, and then that was basically it. Like, you were stuck with it, so you had it for a couple years, and you listen to it, and you know it back to front, front to back. Now, you can do that with streaming, but there's always that predictive algorithm coming in, trying to tell you if you like this, you'll like that. There's always something new coming out. You always have immediate access. So too often, brilliant artists will come out with brilliant albums that, despite their brilliance and despite the fact that you recognize that they're brilliant, they don't stick with you as long as they should, just by some kind of technological fluke. So it's awesome that artists are reintroducing, they're introducing some kind of new fluke, some kind of new idea to get us to go back. Because let's face it, Space Heavy from 2023 was a great album. It was excellent. I actually went yesterday to try to buy it. Boy, I had a frustrating day yesterday, actually. A failed recording video, and I went to Record Archive to buy the album. I went to go buy that and Blonde by Frank Ocean for a different reason, and they had neither of them. I would have bought them on CD. They didn't have either of them, but I wanted to spend more time in this world, so thank you for this SHHHHHH EP. But what is this world? What is the Space Heavy world? And is the SHHHHHH EP even really part of it? I actually don't think so. Okay, the cover, I think it's part of the world, but I think we're in a different spot in the timeline. So if you look at the cover of the EP, it's got the same obelisk from the actual LP, but it's fallen over, and there's like sort of a Picasso mask sculpture in front of it, and then you see what I assume to be the singer himself, like in a little rectangle hanging up above. And I've been thinking about this, why is that? Well, when we go into the actual themes of this, 17-minute album, I don't even know. It doesn't take very long to listen to all these songs. Sorry, that crow is very insistent. Shh. I think that did it. What I think is that this is either spiritually a sequel or a prequel to Space Heavy. Because Space Heavy, with its obelisk image, with its very spacey, heavy themes of sort of overwhelming, crumbling modernity, this EP is all about slop and soup. Slop and soup. It should have been called Slop and Soup instead of shh. And I think it's on purpose because if we think of the obelisk from 2001, it usually represents some kind of external force granting humanity a form of technology that it will then use to turn on itself. Right? So the obelisk either represents space travel or it represents the ability to use a bone to beat someone to death. Right? That's the basic idea. It's the gift of humanity. It's the spark. It's the Promethean spark that allows us to destroy ourselves. So this album feels like it is either way before that or perhaps way after that, after the extinction level event, in a stage where we're just restarting, we're just forming. This is the soup in which we grow. For reasons which I do not fully understand, I have become intensely interested in human evolution and archaeology in the past 2 days. Like, seriously, my team, France, lost the Euros, and I just started watching archaeology videos, like all about, like, I don't know, Australopithecus and how we started it. And it's funny because I wasn't doing it for this video, but it really works, because the truth is that is how all life started. Life started in a soup. Life started in a slop. Life started in some kind of water area where just a single molecule was created through some kind of weird, we don't even know what. And from that came multi-cell organisms, came fishies, came bigger fishies, eventually we got out of the slop and into the trees and out of the trees, etc., until here we are now. So I really enjoy this album, and imagining it as a prequel or a sequel after society has fallen, of just, let's start forming. Now, I'm not trying to be cute here. I don't think that this is like it's not a concept album, right? It's not like it's an actual story of Paramecium. Paramecia. What's the singular of Paramecium? That must be the singular. Anyways, it's not like it's the story of Paramecium and that's what he's doing, but it's more the feeling that goes with it. This proto-forming feeling, which goes beautifully with his music itself. The whole thing feels like it's sort of unfinished. It's kind of raw. It's sort of forming. So let me give you some examples. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who's pretty happy recording out here. Could you actually? I'm not actually asking for engagement. I'm not going to get a lot of views on this. It's cool. I got my plaque, so everyone can just fuck off. But I even swore. See, that's going to demonetize me. But it's true. I got my plaque, so instead of trying to chase more clicks, I can just talk about what I want, which is being here in the soup with you. But do tell me if this outside setting is too noisy, if it's too annoying, because it's fairly convenient, frankly, for my family. So, an example song, the first track, Achtung. I don't think this is a reference to Achtung Baby, the U2 album. Like, U2 started getting really good in the late 80s and early 90s, and then stopped being good. Well, as good. They've always been good, but they hit a real peak starting with Achtung Baby, in my opinion. But it's a German word for watch out. I don't know. I don't think that's the reference. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the soup. These barely forming vocals. Just these lo-fi single notes on the guitar. It's just so... It just puts you in the headspace. Like psychedelic music is supposed to make you feel like you're tripping balls, right? That's the idea of psychedelic music. This music, to me, it makes me feel like I'm a paramecium figuring out how to join some cells together. At a certain point, the guitar kind of drops out just for the vocals and the drums, and that's where you step back and realize, oh, this drumming is really funky. This is some really syncopated, funky drums. But there's just this whole layer of slime and slop. And some of the lyrics pop out, some of them don't. What's wrong with me? Don't follow me, don't swallow me. Little surf guitars, like... He's the master of unsettling surf guitar. So surf guitar is generally kind of a tremolo style guitar, generally sort of clean notes, chords sort of played for emphasis, or sort of single note runs. He just does unsettling surf guitars, like we're surfing in the soup. That would also be a good name of the album. Is fine, but I think surfing in the soup might even be better. Whatever you do, don't follow me, I won't follow you, I'm not turning back. A lot of these lyrics feel like they are placeholders, so if you don't know, most musicians, or many musicians, write the song first and then the lyrics. They're just sort of like a placeholder. Like if you ever listen to the original demos of Yellow Submarine, it's John Lennon. And instead of singing "In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed the sea," he just sings over and over again, "In the town where I was born, no one cared, no one cared." Totally changes the nature of the song. Anyway, so you have these kind of placeholder lyrics, and I think most of the lyrics on this album are kind of placeholdery on purpose, because we're forming. We're in the soup. okay? We had our whole civilization, and it came crashing down, and we're now back on this little moon, and it's time for Slurp, which is the second song. Some people kind of talking in the beginning, and the lyrics. I'm going to read you, actually, it's going to take me a little while, but I'm going to read every single lyric of this song. Let me get out my paper. Sorry for my bad communication. That's it. It's the whole thing. Feels unfinished, but it doesn't. It's beautiful. It's repeated over and over again. It is in and of itself bad communication because he's not communicating anything other than I'm sorry for my bad communication. Great pulsing guitar notes, some kind of like almost Pixies-ish guitar work on here. And he just says it over and over again. There's a real, I mean, anytime you have distortion or kind of lo-fi aesthetic and a sort of whiny dude or kind of angry dude with a guitar, you think of sort of punk. But this is a real kind of punk song. And weirdly enough, I'm announcing this now for the probably, statistically probable 800 to 1,000 of you who are going to watch this video. Kendrick Lamar. Okay, the statistically to the 100,000 of you who's going to watch this video, I decided to release some of my band's music because I had a band back in the mid '90s, and we made an entire album. I took a year off from college to record and release the album, and we recorded the album and we never released it anywhere. You can't find it anywhere. So I'll include a link to that down in the description. And it was inspired by this song, because a song that I wrote after my second date, where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to make a move, so I just sat on a bench, like in the middle of the night for like 45 minutes with this girl. I came back home and I wrote this song, and I just said, I don't feel communication. And that kind of just like anger and frustration that you feel when you know you can communicate better. You know it is a thing that people can do, but you yourself cannot do it. That feeling, that's like a very hard feeling to communicate. And I don't know if I succeeded all the way back then, but I know that he succeeds here. Let's have more songs about knowing you can't communicate, but not knowing how to communicate better. We then get to Whale Shark, which is, again, I feel like we're in the soup. You know, I feel like we're in the soup. I feel like we're stuck. Like, I live in a quiet town. I don't understand what that sound is. It's a very weird sound. There's like motorcycle races? Get out of my beach community, deadbeat. You know, whale sharks themselves, the term, I remember as a kid, I'm not joking, I remember as a kid, I've always been afraid of the ocean. Because when I was a kid, my son used to take me my brother used to take me to the Boston Aquarium and hang me over the edge and like pretend like he's going to drop me into the tank with all the sharks. So, scary stuff. But I remember being scared of sharks and then thinking about whales, and so the idea of a whale shark is so terrifying because it's like as fierce as a shark but as big as a whale. But the reality is the whale shark doesn't hurt people, it just hurts krill, you know? So I love that, just even that name is so evocative of something that could be something else but isn't. Clean kind of, the warbled surf style, straight into this cool kind of Casio drum machine, and then a little sweet saxophone. It's actually very catchy, this album. Then at the end, some arpeggiated synths take the song out, and more of these non-forming lyrics. Where did your lovers go? Met her in the snow, long lost empty minds, you just let them go. Now here the picket line, waited for you all night and all day, waited for you all night and all day, but they was never there. Almost non sequiturs, you know, like the subject doesn't match. So where did your lovers go, plural, met her in the snow, singular. Like it almost feels like he wrote it sort of in a surrealist way of just one sentence at a time. And then of course it has to end with it's all soup. Okay, it's all soup. So sleepy, 4 jazzy guitar chords kind of resolving in sort of a box shape. And it just develops so gorgeously with his doubled, tripled voice sometimes. I believe it's tripled, it's at least doubled. And some saxophone in here. And eventually it changes and there's this fast guitar, almost kind of hardcore, more sort of Pixies-ish as well. Another great saxophone solo. And this bedroomy chorus, it was all soup now. Which makes me think this is a sequel, not a prequel, right? Because the whole world has just devolved into a soup. Once again, there's a very weird sequenced keyboard outro, and it's perfect. It's a perfect ending. It's a perfect soupy ending to a soupy album. Now, to understand the lyrics, I have to tell you kind of a dark joke. So a woman's on vacation, right? And she left, she left her cat and her elderly mother home with her husband, right? So she goes off. She goes to Aruba, and she calls home, and she asks her husband, "How's my cat doing?" And the husband says, "The cat's dead." And the wife is like, "Oh, honey, you could have broken that to me easier, You could have waited till I got home. You could have just said something, a little bit vague that doesn't make me so sad because my whole vacation's ruined." Well, what should I have said? You could have just said, the cat's on the roof and you can't get her down. "Okay, I'm sorry, honey," says the husband. Then the wife asks, "Oh, how's my mom?" To which the husband says, "She's on the roof and I can't get her down." Ba-doom. Okay, that's the joke. It's a dark joke. It's kind of a funny joke, but, super dark. And that's the first lyric. There's a cat on the roof. They're looking for you. The man in the suit feels like the flu, yet they say it's brand new. But it's all soup now. It was all soup now. So I think, obviously it feels like the flu, but it's brand new. That appears to be some kind of COVID reference. I'm not going to go too far and read some kind of political meaning into this. But it's hard not to. A lot of that Last Smile album, or some of the Last Smile album, is sort of about the UK's bad reaction to COVID, about how it made the rich richer and the poor poorer, and how a bunch of people just robbed the government and just walked away with money while people were dying. Maybe this is a political song. Maybe it's not just a sort of theoretical decline of society and civilization due to vague things like a lack of empathy and over-reliance on technology. Maybe in this case it's a little bit more specific, that we're all in the soup now, that whatever's happened over the past 5-6 years is sort of like evidence of our decline and just going back to a state of soup, that we've been given the obelisk and it is all soup now. But he changes tenses and says it was all soup now, making sure we're never comfortable, we're never fixed in time. Even time itself is soupy. All right, there we go. That was fun. To you who are watching this, that's awesome. I really appreciate it. These things are fun. It's fun doing the big videos, but doing the small videos is fun too. All right, well, until next time, the dogs are back asleep. Family's asleep.